process to look into them writing those RVs. One of the ladies at Precinct, she said, yeah, she called them RVs. Kip sent me some information months ago about it, but it was a big old pack. And she says, oh, RVs.
Sorry.
So we just need to say something about it.
Yes, she'll just have to share her.
Okay. Okay.
She typically does when it's. Yeah, she'll just have to share the screen.
Okay.
Mayor, for these presentations, can you remind Jill to share the screen to the PowerPoint and the Zoom recording as well?
All right, folks, since everybody is here and accounted for, I will go ahead and call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. We can start with a moment of silence, please. And if we will all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a reminder for council, make sure that your microphones are turned back on if you turned them off. For those in the gallery, please make sure that your phones are either off or on silent. And City Clerk Domingo, will you take roll call for us, please?
Councilmember Williams,
Present.
Reed,
Present.
Jackson,
Here.
Lawler, French,
Here.
and Mayor Snyder.
Here. I would like to make a motion to approve of the agenda with 2 additions. Council members, on your desk, we have an application for the Parks Reservation. I would like to add that to our consent calendar. And then under our presentations and recognitions, I would also like to add the introduction of Jared Mays, who is our new code enforcement officer. Do I have a second?
Second. Sorry.
So moved. Yes.
Any questions or concerns on those?
What was the gentleman's name?
Jared Mays. City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. So we will start this evening with the proclamation recognizing June 23rd, 2022 as Senior Care Partners P.A.C.E Day in the city of Albion. Whereas P.A.C.E began in 1971 in San Francisco as a noble idea by Dr. William Gee and social worker Marie-Louise Ansack. They designed a comprehensive system of health and social care that allowed people to receive care while living at home. Today, that idea has expanded into a nationally replicated, federally funded program. It was formally established by CMS as a permanent Medicare Advantage option in 1997. And whereas Senior Care Partners, PACE, brings community and wellness to older adults, enabling them to continue enjoying life through the independence of their own home. And whereas the PACE philosophy of care is holistic and all-inclusive, providing physical, mental, emotional, and social services through their adult day health center. And whereas PACE mission is to empower independence and autonomy for participants and their support systems through exceptional interdisciplinary and integrated geriatric care. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Victoria Snyder, Mayor, on behalf of the Albion City Council, do proclaim June 23rd, 2022 as Senior Care Partners PACE Day, and urge every citizen to take this month to honor our Senior Care Partners program, the seniors they serve, and the volunteers who care for them. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of this city to be affixed. So on June 23rd, our center did have their open house, and many were there to view the wonderful facilities, to meet the care workers, and to get more information on what this facility can offer our citizens. Yes, Councilman.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to amend the agenda and move item C before item B. I'd like to make a motion to move item C before item B.
So you're saying under 4?
We'll move C up.
Okay. So, the support.
Are we able to do that even after we pass the agenda?
You can move to amend the agenda.
Yes.
Do we have any questions or concerns on this? We have to have a roll call on this, Colin? City Clerk Domingo?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilman Jackson.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. So we have a presentation on review of concepts to support the comprehensive plan. Do we have a PowerPoint or anything to go along with the presentation, speaker, or just speaking?
Good evening. So as City Clerk Domingo and I, Ashley Woodson, 315 East Cass Street, as City Clerk Domingo and I worked together over Google Slides today, she did not have the ownership approvals that she needed to share the PowerPoint presentation with all of you. But she does have those now, and I'm sure she will tomorrow. This is, very briefly, an opportunity to review more slowly some of what I introduced last council meeting regarding concepts that support comprehensive plan data analysis and considerations of equity and access in such analysis. So I'm grateful to all of the council people, Councilwoman Reed, Councilwoman Williams, and Councilman French, who participated in conversations with me, as well as Ian, thank you so much for your help, and City Manager Snyder, thank you so much for your dialogue as well, to reach a point where we have some understanding of literacy that might be needed, not so much for council, but community-wide. So having an opportunity to put these on public record to support all of our literacy and continue dialogue for self-advocacy as we think about what an equitable comprehensive plan process, our comprehensive planning process has looked like in the past, and what an equitable comprehensive planning process would look like moving forward. I do appreciate this opportunity to present with council. So the why. Meetings with council members, municipal staff, and residents indicated that support may be needed to set meaningful goals for advancing equity in our community through comprehensive planning. Second, the comprehensive plans are in conversation with one another. The limitations of a past planning process can directly impact how new plans are developed, interpreted, and implemented. And finally, concerns about past comprehensive plans impact how much residents trust and participate in future comprehensive plans. The key concepts that I introduced during my last public comment that I would like to elaborate on and take questions, if appropriate today, are representative sample, the responses that we received for our survey, any data that we collect for the comprehensive plan should be generalizable across the populations of interest. That means that whoever we have the opportunity to talk to, if we decide that data collection is on pause, if data collection is terminal, if data has been saturated, right, if we've reached that point where we feel we don't need to continue to collect data in an intentional, systematic, and aggressive way, that the data that we have reflects the needs of everyone in our community. Representative sample, the sample that we have is representative of all in our community. Survey reliability. Survey responses should be replicable. Reliability means replicable in this context. We would get close to identical responses if we were to conduct the survey again. So for any comprehensive plan, for any survey that we would lead as a city, if I lead it, the results would be very similar then. If Councilwoman Jackson were to lead it, the results would be very similar. Whoever, if we hired a firm to lead it, if we chose to outsource that, the results of the survey would be similar. That's how we know that the survey is reliable, that it's replicable. We can do the same thing again and expect that our results be just about the same. Survey validity, instead, means that our survey responses are accurate. We're actually studying what we intend to study. And this is sometimes the most difficult one. So for the example that I shared last time, if we were going to do a survey just about favorite breakfast foods, and we had waffles, pancakes, and crepes, right? And we only did that survey at the French Market, crepes would probably win, which is accurate, but that data probably should not be extended to everyone in the Albion community. So it would not be reliable. Now, if we went out into the entire Albion community and asked what their favorite breakfast food was, and crepes was an item on a list, an item on that survey, but folks didn't know what crepes were. They didn't understand what that term meant, and they filled out the survey without that understanding, then our survey results are not valid. So it's very important that the way that we collect data as we move towards data interpretation, as we think about our action steps and implementation, that we're not only surveying a representative sample, but that we're also conducting the survey in a way that is both reliable and valid as it informs our future decision making. 3 additional key concepts, one of which I'm adding from my 3-minute comments, so I won't take much more of your time. I'm a good Kojic girl, so I know how to wrap it up in appropriate time. Quantitative intersectionality. Our survey is intentional about the experience, outcome, or processes that need to be examined or made visible. So we're not just asking the questions that other communities have asked. We're not just asking the questions that are convenient or comfortable to ask. We are very intentional about asking the difficult questions about experiences that are sometimes rendered invisible in these processes. And we're also intentional about how we get these questions to folks. Assessment, the systematic or rule-governed basis for evaluating, measuring, and documenting progress toward our established goals. Now, this has been an issue, I think, with the past comprehensive plan, with the comprehensive plan that I see now, and a few other city documents, including our communications plan, where our plan for assessment and evaluation is not clear, or at least it's not made public. So, did our target audience receive the communication? That's only one point of assessment and evaluation. When, how, and where did they access the information? How much of the information were they able to understand? Do they understand next steps? Does the target audience know what I was trying to say? How do I know that they know what I was trying to say? And how can I make future interactions more accessible and more compelling? So I've been deeply concerned, not so much in my interactions with City Council, but in my interactions with the community, when folks take a deficit perspective and ignore barriers to civic engagement and survey completion that do exist in our community. Well, if people really want it, they would do it, right? That's kind of a common sense interpretation, but common sense is just the common prejudice of the time. So we also have to pay very close attention to barriers to survey completion, which might include literacy, it might include access to internet, it might include the ability to see, hear, understand, awareness that this process is taking place, since we do exist in a news desert, right? If we're relying on word of mouth, if we're relying on social media posts, do I really know the importance of this initiative that council is leading? So assessment and evaluation will be key there. And then finally, and related to that, access, the ability of all residents to have an opportunity to receive, understand, and complete the comprehensive plan community survey. I would argue that if those things aren't actually accomplished, that we did not lead a comprehensive planning survey in good faith. And if we're turning to that data as the basis for future decision making, that we're not doing it with equity and access in mind. Another document that City Clerk Domingo will share, and I'll share it with you since we don't have the opportunity to have it on the screen, is Are We Planning for Equity? Equity Goals and Recommendations in Local Comprehensive Plans, which was published by Lowe and Kim in 2021 from the Journal of American Planning Association. And what their study found was that equity in planning is broadly concerned with access to resources and opportunity for those who are disadvantaged, that equity seeks to expand choices and increase agency for all, that equity is about distributing public resources in favor of those who are less well off, and that plans with strong public participation processes have stronger equity orientations than those who do not. I think this is particularly compelling given the amount of turnover that we've had, both in terms of municipal staff and city council. If it's up to us as individuals, it's not going to be equitable, but if it's embedded in our expectations of one another and the ways that we hold one another and future leadership accountable, we are more likely to attain that goal. So thank you so much for allowing me time on the agenda today. Can I answer any questions?
I just have a quick question. Your last concept that you added, what was that? The quantitative, I didn't catch the last.
Quantitative intersectionality. I actually addressed that one last time. The one that I added today was access. So those concepts, again, make sure I read them in order. Were representative samples, survey reliability, survey validity, quantitative intersectionality, assessment, and access. And again, the city clerk will be providing my slides to you tomorrow. Thank you so much for being patient with me and accommodating my mistake.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You had a question?
So next on our agenda is our presentation by City Manager Snyder and Linda LaNoue. And so we do have a presentation that'll be pulled up here. And Jill, just want to make sure you're sharing that screen.
I'll do like a brief overview and then I'll let you, but you can stand at the podium if you'd like. So thank you, Mayor. So we are presenting on just an update of the goals that were identified in the current comprehensive plan, as well as doing the Project Rising Tide closing report. Ms. LaNoue served as our Project Rising Tide Fellow, so she will be sharing a little bit about that here after I give kind of an overview of the goals and objectives that were identified in the current comprehensive plan. So the comprehensive plan, it was developed in 2016, formally implemented in 2017 through 2021. We are currently in the process of updating that comprehensive plan. Included in the packet, as well as there are hard copies at your desk, are all of the, I believe there are 11 goals that were identified in the comprehensive plan, as well as objectives that go along with each of those goals. During this time, I think it's no surprise, the city was under significant transformation and transition. We had 3 different city managers, as well as the planning director who worked with the consultant to implement this plan, also retired. So I'm happy to share during that time, the city administration, we focused on maintaining and providing the day-to-day operations to all of our residents, as well as you will see it's highlighted in red. There were some goals accomplished or objectives accomplished throughout that were identified in the comprehensive plan. So I did provide a little update on that, as well as the EDC director when she came and gave her EDC update. I believe it was the first June meeting. Some of those kind of tied into some of the goals and objectives that were identified in that comprehensive plan. So I did provide you with her PowerPoint as well, so that you can reference that or have that to kind of tie into the different objectives. I'm happy to announce during this time period of this current comprehensive plan, the city did obtain the RRC certification, so that we were identified as a redevelopment ready community, which means that we have put different plans in place, updated our zoning ordinance to make our community more attractive to development. And it is, we are through this program or this certification process, we have access to different technical assistance through the state of Michigan. I know that was an objective pretty much in every single goal that was identified in the current comprehensive plan. So we did receive that certification status at the end of 2019. Unfortunately, our formal RRC recognition ceremony was canceled due to COVID, but we do still have that status. Also during this time, we implemented a capital improvement plan that was through fiscal year 2017 through 2022. As we begin the budget process, we are in the process of looking to update that capital improvements plan. We've also implemented several other asset management plans, which will be incorporated in the city's capital improvement plan. That includes our transportation, our water, and our sewer.
Quick question, City Manager.
Yes.
Is the director not going to be present today?
I'm sorry, who?
The director?
Chairman Strander?
Yes.
Director Arnold is here as well? Yes.
The Planning Commission?
Yes, the
Chairman?
Planning Commission,
No, he is unable to join us.
the chair's not going to be here today?
Correct. Through that, so we've updated so we're in the process of updating that capital improvement plan to tie in with our budget process as well. We will work with the Planning Commission as city staff to get that implemented and bring forward to City Council for formal approval. Also through this, the biggest, I think, what allowed us to gain our RRC certification, the city, we updated our zoning ordinance. We made it more user-friendly and kind of narrowed down. We had almost, I believe it was 19 different zones within our community. As you can see, there's an updated map of what our current zoning ordinance looks like. We have gotten that down to, I believe it's 8 or 9 different zones, and that was the final step in obtaining that RRC certification status. Under strengthen and beautify Albion's neighborhood, so this is kind of an ongoing. We are working, council, you've established a rental certification subcommittee to work with the Director of Planning and Building to develop and implement a formal rental certification program. To stabilize the downtown, that was included a lot in the EDC update, so that is noted not only in the PowerPoint, but also in this report as well. A lot of new businesses have been added to the downtown area. The Albion Malibu, Yellowbird Chocolate Shop, Cuts by Moose, Superior Street Mercantile, Foundry Bakehouse, Superior Street Nutrition, and several others. We have under support and strengthen free K through 16 education system for the community. It was strengthen and promote city programs. That is kind of ongoing as well. The city has entered into a service agreement with the Battle Creek YMCA to enhance the recreational program. Through this service agreement, we work with other organizations within the community to offer other activities and programs to our youth and seniors here in our community. Under goal number 7, which is build capacity in a network of organizations and services to address poverty, meet the needs of residents who cannot afford basic services. I know that has continued to be ongoing. Back in 2017, the AmeriCorps Vista, they worked very hard to conduct a community-wide assessment survey in 2017. Unfortunately, I'm not sure, I can't really speak on what was done with that data or what has been implemented since then. That was prior to my time coming on with the city, but I know that those conversations are still ongoing, and we look forward to reassessing the community and looking how we can work with other organizations in our community as well as the county to address that need. A lot has been done to improve Albion's transportation network. It's still an ongoing process. We work in collaboration with strategic partners to fund and support the Albion Marshall Connector, as well as support the Calhoun County's countywide transportation initiative, because I know transportation within our city, as well as Calhoun County, is a barrier. So we're looking to improve access to that. We've also, we did complete and obtain our community to be recognized as a trail town in 2019, and a lot of work is still ongoing to improve and add more bike trails and walking trails in our community. The areas that did not have red, unfortunately, there's no data available, or I can't speak on work that was not done. But I did go through and add everything that I know that has been completed since implementing this plan. For goal number 10, just to forge local and regional and global collaborations that support the city of Albion. I think this is an ongoing process and continues to happen. Not only working with the AmeriCorps Vistas, but now the Bonner program, as well as supporting the Community Table of Albion, which is a nonprofit that provides food assistance or food distribution to our community, as well as the DDA and the farmers market. And then goal 11 is to support networks and systems that promote healthy living. As I just said, that's continue ongoing, the work with the Community Table of Albion, the DDA, and the farmers market to make sure Albion is classified as a food desert. So to make sure that we are providing healthy food options to our residents. So work continues to be put in place and ongoing with these different organizations. And then enhance safe walking and cycling routes. As I mentioned, the Albion River Trails Expansion Project, number 2 was just recently completed this year. We've also submitted another grant to enhance that Albion River Trail along North Albion Street to tie into the North Albion Bridge replacement, as well as to go into McIntosh Park so that there are walking and bike trails in all areas or sectors of our community. So a lot of the goals that were identified there, some have been completely finished, but a lot of it continues to be ongoing as we update and look into this new comprehensive plan. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I will allow Linda, if you would like to go into kind of what Project Rising Tide, what was accomplished, or the initiatives through that program as well.
Absolutely.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Yes, I would actually like to speak before Linda goes. Okay, for the audience and for everyone that's at home, the reason we're having this discussion today about the 2017 comprehensive plan is because we recently had a conversation during the last council meeting addressing closing out the previous comprehensive plan and making sure what targets were hit, what was accomplished, and what tasks still needed to be done. The chairperson was invited, the planning chairperson was invited, and the conversation should have been held with them so that they could directly take back any information to the committees in which serve them and serve the community, so that they were aware of what the concerns were that were had. But being that you all don't have the documentation in front of you, I'll read the goal that was set out and I'll fill you in on the conversation so that you know why we're having this conversation today. So goal number 7 on the 2017 comprehensive plan, build capacity and a network of organizations and services to address poverty and meet the needs of residents who cannot afford basic services. That is one line for a community of 7,700 people with a 65% or greater poverty level. So nearly 3/4 of our population here in the city of Albion are below the poverty line and has not been represented in the past 5 years. The corresponding data to address that need is ongoing. Well, I'll read it to you. The objective, update comprehensive community needs assessment and asset maps to identify assets and determine needs. 1 to 2 years is the time frame in which it was supposed to take. This is ongoing. The AmeriCorps Vista conducted a community-wide assessment survey. Is that the survey you're going to speak to?
No, but I know someone who can.
Okay, so basically 5 years has gone by and we haven't done anything to help poor people in the city of Albion. Excuse me for using the term poor. I was once impoverished So I would like to use income constrained, but I don't want it to be misconstrued about who we're speaking of or who we're speaking to. When we talk about people that need help in the community and equitable stakes in the community, it's clearly being overlooked, and the chairperson not being here at this meeting today and the city manager taking up their space, it seems as if we don't address it, that it will not be addressed. I was hoping that they would be here to speak to the need or what was done to address that issue. That has not taken place today, so this still does not meet the need of closing out the comprehensive plan, but, I mean, I guess it was an attempt.
Councilman French?
Thank you. Having led the AmeriCorps Vista team that did the community needs assessment survey in 2017, and having had Ms. LaNoue on that committee or on that team at the time, I can say with great assurance that in fact the results of that community needs assessment was taken and actions were taken in response. For example, as described, the work to provide the community table at Albion is a second iteration of a program that was created by the AmeriCorps Vista team to provide free food to anybody who wanted it out of the food hub. We did that for 3 or 4 years before the food hub closed and the Vista program ended, but that has continued through the Albion table. We partnered with the Healthcare Alliance to provide support for their grant writing efforts to provide access to health care so that folks who needed to sign up for access to Medicare, Medicaid were allowed. We helped the navigator there to help expand the program there to allow for people who needed access to health care to get connected to the right places. We partnered with Michigan Works to provide access for people who wished it to find jobs that were available at the time. So whether or not those efforts were completely successful is not for me to say. It sounds like it wasn't, but I take some exception to the idea that nothing was done. It was done. It just wasn't done on behalf of the city. AmeriCorps Vista's sort of team saw the need, filled the need, provided opportunity and resources to help deliver some of those things. So I agree with you that moving forward, we need to do a better job of meeting those needs, but I think that you're overstating the comment that nothing was done, because something was.
Well, maybe that's unfair, right? But let's say this, right? A one-liner isn't enough to address the mass population of the city of Albion. When you're speaking to 65% poverty level, that means that the majority of the people that live and reside in the city are below that poverty line. Okay, now with that being said, the city now using the AmeriCorps' data or their explanation, and had you not been here and recently seated to council, we wouldn't have had that explanation, right? So with the city and the planning committees not utilizing land, because as it was brought to my attention, the comprehensive plan is about land use. We all know that land use is directly tied to wealth, and it's also used as a means of excluding people from wealth. So if we know that we're 60 to 65% poverty, and we have planning committees that need to meet or address the need of the community, and this circles around land use, which is direct wealth, and we have not come up with creative ways to meet the needs of the community and partnering with people in the community that fall below the poverty line or the ALICE line, asset limited, income constrained, employed, working poor, that fall below that line. We haven't made any inroads in addressing the issue in that way. Then no, we have not done anything to meet the need of poverty through the comprehensive plan. Now, that does not exclude what Mr. French said. It's just not addressed through the comprehensive plan. So going forward, hopefully we can address land use and utilizing land to help asset limited, income constrained families that go to work every day to be able to have an equitable stake in the community so that when property values rise, they also have an opportunity to take part in that. After all, most of the people that live here in the community have been here for generations, and there is no reason that they should be excluded, and the system should not support anything that would allow them to not participate in the wealth that's created through land use in the city of Albion. Thank you, City Manager.
Thank you all. It is truly an honor to be able to stand here before you and for everyone listening. My name is LaNoue. I had the privilege of being the Community Development Fellow for the Project Rising Tide initiative that Albion was selected to participate in 2018. The fellowship took place during 2019. And I want to give a little bit of background before jumping into the presentation. So first of all, I just want to acknowledge the losses that we have faced over the last 2 years since this work was finalized. With the onset of the global pandemic, there have been a number of series upon series of challenges that we face. So this presentation tonight represents the collective achievements, challenges, and recommendations that were gathered from a variety of people who love our community. And this presentation was given to the cohort of fellows who served across Michigan. So in addition to the information that was included in your packets, there's just really a raw look at what was happening at the time. This information was also intended to be given in a 2-hour celebration with recognition for the RRC certification, so it's really boiled down. But to your point, Councilmember Williams, I think that the tragedy of community development is that it typically benefits people who are already established. So the way in which projects are typically selected or able to even be pursued is through people who have wealth and where there are already established anchors and traction being built. It's already a risk to make any type of investment in a community that's struggling as much as ours. So the tragedy that I would say we continue to witness across the board in the field of community development is that the people who have the most needs in the areas of the highest concentration of need continue to be neglected. When this project launched, Governor Snyder came to Albion and asked for us to lay all of our needs out, and 5 large arenas were selected. Health and wellness, housing, public infrastructure, post-industrial sites, and workforce development were then handed off to me as the fellow under the direction of the city manager. During the course of the fellowship, we had 3 different city managers, and the result of that upon the fellowship was extremely challenging. But we can go ahead and get started. And this is really just a look at the community as a whole. So again, this presentation was given to a cohort of people, and that was all. So there we go.
Thank you so
We're
very much.
done. We're out of here. Just to run through it briefly, we all know our community. Our community is centrally located. We have access to public transportation, the Amtrak, the Greyhound. Our train depot is centrally located and a huge asset for the city. If we go to the slide after the train depot, we get a look at the rawness of deindustrialization that has stripped away resources from our community and left a series of compounding and competing needs. And there we go again.
Don't hit timing, just hit. She's hitting play instead of that one. Oh, that's cool. Did you put timers on it?
Usually people scroll down, yeah.
So this is just a look at our transportation system in the wake of deindustrialization and the removal of our industries, what that has left. The next slide is a look at a big project that was undertaken, the sidewalk assessment. And I think that
click on it, Jill. You have to do it manually. Just click on, there you go.
I think that projects such as this are a great example of the ongoing nature of the work to help in the phase of redevelopment. While, unfortunately that sidewalk probably still remains as it is, we were able to replace all of the ramps for exiting and walking onto sidewalks to be ADA accessible. And the survey that included the raw data of where sidewalks need to be repaired does exist for the city once we're able to have the funds to address needs such as that. The next slide is about community economic development and the basis of this fellowship. So in order to have a thriving community, you have to have a strong economy, you have to have social health, a flourishing physical environment. This requires investment in the natural capital of the city, in social equity, and the quality of life and environmental justice, all with the understanding that we're doing this for generations to come and doing it in a sustainable way. The next slide touches on specific wins within the fellowship itself. Again, this presentation is going to touch on a number of things that the city accomplished during the last 5 years, but during the fellowship, we went through an action strategies engagement that included people representing those 5 different arenas, stakeholders across the city. Many of the people who worked on, this was the stakeholder engagement in March of 2019, where we reviewed action strategies. Those action strategies, I think, continue to live on as the city's goals and comprehensive plan. Many things are left undone, and I think that this is a foundation for people to continue to look at and reference and really evaluate their success as we continue to pursue those goals. The action strategies were not provided to you in your packet. They will be provided in a resource drive that's linked at the end of this presentation so that you can reference those. Okay. The next slide is about Operation X, which had its kickoff in June of 2019 with the goal of connecting the younger people in our community to more resources and opportunities to participate in decision making. Like many things, this is an ongoing effort. This is something that needs to be returned to. We need to continue to build on the success of that kickoff, and definitely looking forward to seeing that take place. The next slide touches on the civic engagement of another group of young people in our community, the Albion Fellows, students from our community born and raised who are going to Albion College. This workshop specifically looked at how those students can help build social capital and act as a bridge to continue to make improvements in our city in the areas that are most needed. And I think one of the challenges for sustaining things like those efforts is really having a structure, and the city of Albion in and of itself as a municipality can really serve to provide that structure. I know there have been opportunities for younger people prior to graduating high school to participate in more decision making, but there's generations after that still definitely deserve to have a role in their voice being heard. So the next slide is just the continuation of that workshop series. And then we jump into the highlights, which City Manager Snyder touched on. I think a majority of these are obviously back from 2019. I don't really think I need to go into a lot of these, but I think that it's safe to say there is clearly a ton of momentum underway. The biggest missing piece is all of our residents feeling a sense of ownership and understanding within the development that's happening. So while all these things certainly prove that we are capable of doing a lot with few resources, I think that we need to continue to think about what is still missing. So the pictures here just demonstrate some of those successes. It's interesting. So we did know that the Coca-Cola mural would be redone at that time, and then this is the block that has been redeveloped on South Superior Street. And the next slide is the success of Union Steel being brought down. Obviously, that was a serious liability in our city, and part of redevelopment is being able to see the last industry in Albion torn down, so that was a huge milestone. The next slide was the the development of the urgent care facility, which was just next door to Union Steel. And then the last few slides are just looking at the assets of our community and what we can continue to build on. One of the things I don't think City Manager Snyder touched on was the branding strategies. So as we continue to make our city attractive, being able to utilize its natural resources. The next slide looks at the Stoffers Plaza. And then we jump into the challenges. So this is the reality of where our city is at. Having 4 city managers within this 5-year period, actually within the 2-year period of the fellowship, posed extreme hardships on the leadership's decision-making ability. The growing concerns from the community not being properly handled continue to remain. So infrastructure, our streets, sidewalks, lights, and the cost of water and refuse were all things that I heard as concerns when I went canvassing in 2020. And I know with the onset of the pandemic, we're continuing to see these needs grow. At the time of my fellowship, there was a very serious concern related to a young man who had different mental health concerns, and that continues to be something that I would like to see a lot more structural support for. And then, of course, the growing disparities in our community. To Councilmember Williams' point, we're seeing a large investment in certain pockets of our city while the neighborhoods continue to go unaddressed. And then the final challenge was just the competing priorities. City Manager Snyder listed a huge number of things that have been addressed, but in order to work collaboratively to make sure the rising tide, in fact, actually reaches our entire community, we'll have to think more innovative, be more innovative in terms of how we address these. And also, to a point made earlier, when equity is really built into the structure of decision-making, that makes the decision-making that much more clear. I think a lot of times with so many competing priorities, it's very hard to navigate and make decisions on what to focus on and follow through on. So my final recommendations during the fellowship, which are also included in the internal report, are really basic. I try to keep it as simple as possible. I think we don't ask to collaborate enough and really listen when people are explaining what it is that we need and then follow through. I think we need to recruit, employ, and retain local expertise, and these are all a function of building a strong community development foundation for the city. Prioritizing authentic community engagement is something that we have a lot of tools on that were introduced last year as well, in terms of helping people understand the city's trajectory and how they can be involved in decision making. And then the hardest thing is really addressing those pain points in our city, which are structural racism, information deficits, and the open wounds that have stemmed from past and present leadership. Again, not addressing issues as they have been raised. As we look ahead and try to digest all of this, I feel a sense of hope. I have seen my peers invest their time, and I've grown up in a community where volunteerism is the basis of what we are giving and allowing our community to grow from. So I think it is important, though, just in this picture alone, a few of the people who are pictured here have not been retained. And we really have to look at how we are retaining talent in our city and what are we doing to both attract and retain the people who would love to work here. And so really we can just wrap this up. The last few slides were just looking at the dawn of what was, or the sunset to what was, and then the dawn of a new day. And the last slide is just the questions, and then the resource guide that I mentioned, and a more complete report on this project, which is all online.
Do you have any questions for Ms. LaNoue?
Questions, sir?
Did you go to the fireworks?
I was not there.
Okay. I was looking down there at the river, down by Barnes Park, and how the vegetation is taking the river over. That's what we were talking about. Has anyone else checked?
I see it every morning when I drive to work.
That was mentioned at Councilmember
Yes.
Jackson's town hall last year.
Yes, and I mentioned that many times, and I was hoping through that dam.
Yep. And the
Because-
current dams feasibility study that is being completed, they're looking at options to address that as well. So it is problem is being looked at to come up with options on how do we remove that overgrown vegetation within the waterway.
It's
Any other
serious.
questions or comments?
I have a little more to speak to on the topic. Also, when I requested this information for the comprehensive plan and goals, I asked for grant proposal and reporting to be accompanied with this as well, so that we could see what our focus was and where we had been spending so much of our money and time. That was part of the reason why we had this discussion previously, was because we had only been seeing grants written for downtown construction, parks, and the roads. Now, I'm not going to say that any of those aren't valuable. They all are, but if a young kid is hungry, he is not going out to that park. It's just not going to work that way. So I still would like to see any grant reporting that would accompany this to make sure that we are doing what we need to ensure that the overall community is participating in being taken care of by the city and the city staff, and we're not just utilizing this, the city's resources to help empower people in the downtown development and the parks. So, thank you. Thank you, Linda.
And I will say, Councilman Williams, I think, Mayor Pro Tem Jackson, through the DDA, also worked on a grant, wasn't it for the farmer's market, and then whatever food was not sold, that there was a grant written so that we could purchase the food to go towards the community table to provide services for our residents. So that was another one that was just
That's,
couple
so we
months
just,
ago.
yeah, we just started working.
Now, I understand that, but the problem with a handout is the handouts end eventually. You don't feed people fish. I know it was good in the Bible, but it's not good in reality in the day-to-day lives that we live. You have to teach people how to fish. Our people suffer from lack of knowledge, not from accessibility alone. It does play a part, but it's not that alone and by itself. So we have to factor in these other ways in which we can ensure that we will take care of our community going forward. I think land use will be a very valuable way of doing that, and we can directly impact people's lives within the next 2 to 3 years, as opposed to feeding them for the rest of their lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next we have an introduction of Jared Mays.
Oh, that's free lunch.
Jared May?
Yes.
Oh, no.
MAY.
Okay, all right.
Hello, everyone.
Apologies.
Chief Scott Kipp, Albion Public Safety. I'd like to introduce Jared May. After an extensive search and about 6 months of trying to find a code enforcement officer, we were lucky to find Jared, who grew up here in Albion. He's an Albion resident, and we're excited to have him on board. I would first like to thank Liz Loomis, who has filled in during that time. She was our former code enforcement officer that went to the finance department, but in the meantime, she's been actually going out and dealing with some of our complaints and trying to deal with it as she's doing her other job as well. But she's also taken a lot of time to train Jared in his job and gotten him going, and he's been out there doing a great job so far. And so if you've got anything else you'd like to tell?
No, thanks. Thank you so much. I'm just looking forward to working with everybody and doing what I can to make a positive change in Albion. I'm born and raised here, and I really do love my city. And so any way, shape, or form I can be a part of the great things that are happening here, I want to be a part of it. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Chief.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
Do you have cards, Jared?
Jared.
What's that?
Do you have cards?
Cards? I do not have cards yet. We're working. They're working.
All right, so we do not have a need for a public hearing this evening, so we are at our public comment section. So if there's anybody in the gallery that would like to stand and speak upon an agenda item only, you have this opportunity. All we ask is that you give us your name, your address, and 3 minutes is yours. So is there anybody in the gallery that would like to speak on an agenda item? All right, guess we will continue. Consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve of our consent calendar items, which are the June 20th study session minutes, or June 20th regular session minutes, and now included with the application for parks reservation? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Questions or comments? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed, and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Next is our approval of a candidate. So we, at our last study session meeting, we had 4 candidates come forward. We interviewed them. One had to drop out after realizing she was not a resident of the precinct. So we have 3 finalists left. And I'm not sure if Miss Alyssa is on Zoom. She is? Okay. So we all had the opportunity to hear from our candidates. We have their resumes included again in our packets. So, you know, this is a time where we are going to be selecting a person to be the voice of the residents who live within Precinct 5. You know, I've said multiple times, everybody who lives within our community has the right to have their voices heard here at council when decisions are being made. So this is now our responsibility to select that correct candidate. And Councilwoman Reed, did you have a comment?
Is it our turn to decide who we want to have? I would
Well,
like to nominate
Well, hold on.
Davis.
I think Cullen has,
I was just going to say, realistically, before there's any discussion, there should be a motion and a second for one of the 3 candidates, and then you go into
That's what I
discussion.
just said before you
Yeah,
began
yeah.
talking.
I think that's what Councilmember Reed was doing.
No, she wanted to nominate.
That's what you
oh,
just said.
okay. So,
You gotta make a motion.
I guess based on the information that we were given, the interviews, for me personally, I would like to make a motion to approve of candidate Vivian Davis for this position based on her years living within that precinct, the relationships that she's had, the service that she's provided our community already, the connections that she has demonstrated. So that would be my nomination.
I second that.
So I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember French,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. So both Bruce, I know Bruce is here, and Alyssa, I don't know if she's on or maybe possibly listening. Just want to take this time to thank you for putting yourself out there in regards to putting yourself and your name in the hat to be a possible selection. We definitely appreciate your concern for your precinct. If there's anything else that you think you may be fit to apply for, we do have several other boards and commissions that would kind of introduce you to how, the municipality works, and kind of give you some more insight, but also give you the opportunity to serve. We definitely encourage you to look at some of the boards that we also have. But definitely, we appreciate your time that you put forth and bring in your application forward. And Alyssa, if you're out there in the stratosphere listening, same with you as well. All right, so we now take the oath of office.
Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Vivian Davis,
I, Vivian Davis.
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear.
that I will support
That I will support.
the Constitution
The Constitution.
of the United
Of
States
the United States.
and of this state,
And of this state.
and that I will,
And I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
faithfully and impartially,
faithfully and impartially,
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of City of Albion,
of the City of Albion,
Precinct 5 Council Member.
Precinct 5 Councilman.
So help me God.
So help me God.
And if you sign right there for me, I don't have to call you, we can come in. Got you right off the get-go. I know, that's a good thing. Thank you.
All right.
I want to say thank you to all the candidates. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
And Councilwoman Davis, do you have a packet in front of you?
I do.
All right.
Oh, that's the question.
Turn to page 191.
Okay.
So now we're on page 91 of the packet. Let her get there before I go forward. Do I have a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 2022-04?
So move.
Support.
City Attorney? Wait, no, this is,
Yeah, this is the ordinance that modifies the existing overlay districts in the industrial park for both medical and adult use marijuana. It basically changes it from two overlay districts that encompass some individual parcels within the industrial park into one large overlay district that essentially surrounds the entire industrial park.
do we have any questions or comments? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember French,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the second reading, the adoption of ordinance 2022-05, amending sections 2-242 for the members?
So move.
Support.
City Attorney Harkins.
This is an all-city attorney meeting, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
That's okay. So this ordinance, council recalls, basically, after the expiration of the existing terms in December, sets up staggered terms moving forward for this particular advisory board. Basically, half the seats take on a one-year term, the remaining seats take on a two-year term, setting up the stagger, and then upon the expiration of those terms, it resumes the two-year term so that thereafter they're on a staggered schedule.
Questions or comments? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve new subcommittee member for the rental certification? Because we will have to take a vote on this.
So moved.
Support.
So like I had said before in our study session, we are going to have to select another person to be on that rental certification subcommittee so that we can keep this work moving forward. Do we have any, currently it's Councilman Williams and Councilwoman Reed, is that correct?
Yes.
So,
I know they asked me to go, I will go aboard. Come aboard to help.
so I would make a motion, or you, Councilman French?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Do we have to suspend or make an addendum to the motion to nominate Councilwoman Jackson to serve in that role? Preclude?
No, I think that's why we approved the
Just a
voting
subcommittee.
on that. It's not a discussion, we're approving that. So if you want to make a motion, or I can make a motion to have her,
I would make that motion to have Councilwoman Jackson serve on this committee.
and I support. City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. I have a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 2022-06, amending the disturbance of peace ordinance.
So moved.
Support.
City Clerk, I'm sorry, City Attorney Harkness?
So this is an ordinance that amends an existing criminal ordinance, our local ordinance for disturbing the peace. Back in 2011, there was a Michigan Court of Appeals case that came out that basically called into question a lot of the local municipalities' definition of what constitutes a disturbance. Unfortunately, it wasn't until last year that the Michigan Supreme Court finally took up this issue and came out with a jury instruction specifically tailored to disturbing the peace and laid out a very specific definition for what constitutes a disturbance. So what this does is it modifies our existing ordinance and uses the language directly from the newly adopted jury instruction from the Supreme Court and sets forth what constitutes a disturbance under local ordinance.
Do we have any questions for our attorney?
I just have a question. In terms of disturbing the peace, does that include sound, volume of radios and loud music and things like that? Or is that different? I noticed it wasn't in here.
It depends. So this can address that depending upon what the source is. We also have a separate ordinance under our environment chapter that deals specifically with loud noises. So this would be more like, this ordinance would be more something along the lines of somebody standing in the middle of the street with another person on the other side of the street screaming epithets at each other versus our environment ordinance that might be more tailored to, say, somebody revving an engine loudly in the wee hours of the morning. So it depends on the scenario. This applies to some things, whereas the loud noise in our environment would apply to others.
All right, I see. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2022-24, to approve the grant agreement with the Community Foundation Office?
So moved.
Support.
City Manager Snyder?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So I know, Council, you discussed this earlier this year, just regarding negative driving habits in our community, high speeds on our local road. With that, we applied for $2,500 to the Albion Community Foundation for their fund for Greater Albion to go towards the purchase of a radar sign that will help monitor and track the speeds. With this, we're looking to purchase one from this grant as well as an additional radar sign through using public safety forfeiture funds. So we will have a total of 2 radar signs to move throughout the community to help combat those negative driving behavior. So included in your packet is the formal grant agreement, and just we're looking for, it requires a formal resolution to allow the mayor and the clerk to sign off on the grant agreement.
Do we have any questions? Councilman French?
So these are portable trailers like we've had in the past?
They're not trailers. I believe they're signs that will go up, but we can move them in different locations. I'll work with Chief to determine where we put those, but we'll look to move
Okay.
them further.
Are they the ones like Marshall has? They're not big, they're just small ones.
That's on side of that pole.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Davis,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. I have a motion to approve Resolution 2022-25, a resolution to recognize the Community Foundation as a nonprofit so that they may obtain a gaming license from the state of Michigan.
So move.
Support.
And City Manager Snyder.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So the Community Foundation, they're looking to obtain a gaming license from the state of Michigan to be able to hold a raffle at their upcoming golf outing. As a requirement for that application process, they have to be designated as an official nonprofit organization by the local governing body. This is something similar that we did with the Walk the Beat organization a few months ago so that they could move forward with their raffle for the upcoming Walk the Beat festival. So we are just looking for approval so that they can move forward with their license application with the state of Michigan.
Do we have any questions or concerns? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember French,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. And then we have a request to close Ash Street on Wednesday, July 13th for the Detroit City Council retreat. Do I have a motion to approve?
So
So
moved.
move. Support.
City Manager Snyder?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So the City of Detroit, their city council, they will be hosting their yearly retreat here in the city of Albion the week of July 11th. They do have several different events scheduled throughout that week. One being they will be holding a dinner event for council members as well as our council. I just received information from Dr. Cheryl Mitchell, so I will be sending that out to you all. You all are welcome to attend this event, but they're looking to have a dinner at the Albion Malibu, and they were requesting to close that street so that they can have tents set up to host that dinner event. So we're just looking for approval to move forward with the closure of that street.
Do we have any questions or comments? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Future agenda items. Council members, do we want to bring up any items for future discussion?
Attorney Hartness, do I need to bring it up now or should I bring it up on our comments about the ordinance?
It depends on whether you want it to be just something you want to bring to the council's attention or something you want to discuss at an agenda item at the
Yeah,
future
I'd rather
meeting.
bring it to their attention.
Then I would
I'll
do it
do
during
that.
council member comments.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. Public comment. At this time, folks in the gallery have the opportunity to come forward and address council in regards to any item that they wanted to express. So if you would just come forward, state your name, your address, and 3 minutes is yours.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Pat Fosdick. I'm a volunteer for the Calhoun County Medical Care Facility millage renewal. So every 10 years, it goes on the ballot for renewal. And this is the year for renewal.
You may want to bring that microphone just a little bit.
Sure.
There you go.
Better? Okay. So it hasn't changed. It's the same as it has been. So if you have a residence with a value of $100,000, it would be $28.82 per year for that millage renewal. It's been a tough couple of years, has been for all of us, and particularly for Calhoun County Medical Care to keep that facility open. So we know how valuable it is to our county, and we know that the citizens have supported us in the past, and we would hope that you would support us well this time. I have some brochures, so if I could leave these maybe out in the hallway. Okay. So please get out and vote for the proposal number 2 in the primary on August 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have some packets here I'd like to hand out to the council.
If you could state your name and your address, please.
Sure.
Just for the record.
Don Ducklin, live at 1203 2nd Street. And I figure out one more copy. Sure, someone.
Yeah, we'll share.
We'll share right here.
On first, second, third, Wow, and Hartwell project, why was approach and sidewalks put on abandoned homes? Some taxpayers got nothing. I had to pay for my back approach. Why were ADA sidewalks put on Broadwell, but not on the corner of Wild and Carson and Broadwell? Wasn't part of the project. Why did the city take out some taxpayers' extra driveway? Norman Johnson, 403 Wild, no sidewalk, stole my driveway. The construction company claimed that they would repair anything that they broke. Complaints by citizens have fell on deaf ears. I had to repair the slab of sidewalk that was broken during the project. Many formal complaints have been made by residents on various issues. If nobody's accountable, the upcoming millage is a waste. Citizens were asked to help clean streets. Our area has piles since April. Director Miller has refused to pick up debris. If equipment is being purchased, why not a street sweeper? Is there a paper trail for purchased and sold equipment in Albion? Abatements for grass should be halted until the city starts caring about their property. If Albion can't afford to care for their property they own, why not sell it? Who is allowed to buy property in Albion? Why is the land bank holding property? And who do you have to be to buy property? The city manager says that there are programs to help low-income people with housing repairs. I was given 3 names by Human Resources after N gave me his card and told me to come back later. No one called me back, and I finally got to talk to someone. After I called several times, they said there was no program this year. I think they are trying to shut Albion down. It seems like it's a gentrification agenda. And thank you.
Councilwoman Reed?
I'm glad Johnny brought these pictures in because this is the same stuff that I was talking about at the other meeting about how that street looked after it had been done and paved. And I mean, this is a mess. It is really a mess.
Councilman Williams?
Johnny, can you come back to the mic, please? When was the picture of the triangle taken?
Last week.
Last week?
Last week.
Okay.
Normally I take care of the island, but since Albion has refused to pick up the piles, I refuse to take care of the island now. I take care of the street. As you see, the street curb is clean everywhere.
Today, is the island still looking like this?
It looks exactly like that.
Okay. And we've had, city manager, we've had discussion about this area previously. This island, we spoke about this in early spring. Now, I know the code enforcement personnel was just hired, but I mean, it's still, he wouldn't write a fine on the city for this. So, if I may, Mr. Dunklin, you feel as though your neighborhood is being overlooked. You didn't see any of these same issues on the Irwin project or the project that recently took place by the college, right?
No, sir.
Well,
Okay.
Hartwell looks better than this.
Hartwell looks better than this as well.
Well, the thing that needs to be made, if Albion say that we're all the same, we should all look the same, we should all get the same, everything should be the same. But if you ride through this project, none of it look the same.
No, and I think it's very problematic that these issues have been brought before the director repeatedly and they still have not been addressed. Also, while asking for more money in the millage to pay for roads, but we're not guaranteeing the community that the work that has already taken place is being done correctly, efficiently, effectively, and at a cost savings or at a reasonable cost to the community. We know how long it took to get this road addressed, and with the water pooling the way that it is in the areas that it is, this road will not last long. It just won't. I know we're coming up on the final year of this, and that probably hastened your concerns. We've spoken about this frequently, so I mean, it's probably putting a lot of pressure on getting this addressed before the end of it. But much like everything else in the city, we kick the can when it comes to certain issues. We need to address this, and we need to address it before the time is up.
We got so much grass growing down through these broken places that's coming down until that's just going to mess up the street. It's going to go right down under the street, and it's going to be a mess.
If I can say, I stopped this project for 2 weeks due to the paperwork you now have, and the city disregarded me.
So was this presented before they started the work?
No. I just recently did that last week. That's for, it says on it what street it is. I only did it because...
For Ann Street?
Yeah, the drains look so bad, it's grass. You can't even see the drain. That's the only reason I took that picture when I rode by.
Okay. I got you.
Manager Snyder, were you gonna?
Yeah, so the sinkhole issue, that was brought to my attention as well as Mickey Bittner's. We were at the last town hall meeting, and he did confirm the project engineer through Whiteman, they have been in touch with Bailey Excavating, who was the construction company responsible for this project. This issue has been reported to them to address. I know Director Miller is in the back. I don't know, I don't have an update. I don't know if he has an update or a timeline on when they do plan, because it still is under warranty to be replaced, but that issue has been, it has been provided to the construction company responsible for completing the project.
So none of this is going to be finished?
What are you,
Or repair?
All of this that he's showing was the same thing I had mentioned at a meeting a while back, and it was said that this was supposed to have been completed. That the people who were doing the work was going to go back and take a look at it. So are they going to look at it again, or is this going to be left in the mess that it's in?
No, the issues that have been reported have been provided to the contract company to come out and to address. So they are still responsible for fixing the issues that have been reported.
Do you have a timetable in which they have to address the issues?
I don't. I know Director Miller, can someone, chief right there?
We need to know.
Do you have a timeline on the issues that were reported to Bailey Excavating on when they will be prepared for the first,
the
second,
sinkhole by
third?
the catch basin?
Yes.
No, Aaron is investigating that with Jacob Bailey. Aaron is the project manager from that project.
We still haven't received the answer.
No, yeah, they don't have an answer as to when it's gonna be completed, but at least it's on their radar that it has to get fixed because it is still under warranty.
So when will be a reasonable time for Mr. Dunklin to return? Because I'm sure he's coming back until this is addressed. So when should he expect to come back and present his complaints again? Or are we going to address the issue so that he doesn't have to come back and spend his money to print out photos?
We are working with the engineer firm as well as the contractor to address these issues that have been identified and been reported. So it's not that we're turning a blind eye to not have them addressed, but right now we are in the middle prime season of construction for a lot of the companies. So I believe they will work it into their schedule as soon as they're able to. The issues have been reported to both firms that were responsible for designing the project as well as that received the award to complete the project, so they will be addressed.
I would like to say one more word if possible.
And I was just gonna say that the last town hall meeting that we had at the high school, that's when Mr. Dunklin came forth and expressed his concerns and told us about these issues. So that's when Mickey did go out that night. He looked at it, and that's when the contractors were contacted.
Okay.
So that was maybe like a month ago? Is that about a month ago, Mr. Dunklin?
Yes, so when I stopped this program for 2 weeks and I was rushed to make a decision, do anybody have any answer why this wasn't fixed when I stopped the program for 2 weeks? Can anybody answer to that? It's accountability time. Can anybody answer?
Mr. Dunklin, I believe the project was stopped for the relocation of the consumer's pole that was in the middle of or next to your driveway entrance that was being replaced within the project. So I don't think that was this issue of the suck and catch.
Well, I took care of the
Basin.
pole myself because my council could not do it for me. So I called Consumer personally since the city could not help me. And Consumer brought an engineer out to me personally to my house. And we thought of a plan that would work because the city would not work with me. That's actually what happened.
But I just want to clarify, was not stopped for this project, or the issue that you're bringing forward tonight. It was stopped for a different issue with the relocation of the pole that was next to your driveway entrance that was replaced and worked into this project as well.
Okay, you say it was. People have a nice day today.
Thank you, Mr. Dunklin. So Mr. Dunklin's concerns while the project were taking place that led to the work that we ended up receiving, they weren't addressed initially? Is that what I'm left to assume?
No, that is not correct.
Okay.
We worked with not only the engineer who designed the project, as well as Consumers Energy, as well, and Mr. Dunklin to get a decision. It took some time to get a decision on where to relocate that pole, to a point it was going to not allow the project to move forward at all. I do recall myself sat down with Mr. Dunklin as well as Bob Dunklin to discuss our options so that we can come up with a solution to allow the project to move forward.
Okay, do we plan on using this same company again, or is it the engineering that's the cause of this?
I can't speak on what construction companies will put in bids for other future projects, but they do have the option to do that. All of those come before, the proposals come before council to formally award any future project.
No, I agree.
City Attorney?
Thank you.
I just want to remind council, I realize it's tempting to interact with members of the public during public comment, but our council rules specifically provide that we're not supposed to do that. So I just want to bring that to everyone's attention that with public comment, you're supposed to just let the public comment, and our council rules specifically provide that we're not supposed to respond, and then council should respond to those comments, and administration should respond to those comments under the mayor and council comments and city manager report.
Donovan is his council person.
Well, that's fine. And
I understand. I don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't think that the council members that are volunteering information aren't volunteering valid concerns and things like that. I'm just bringing to your attention that we do have a council rule that applies here, and I just want to make you aware of it.
I understand this is the procedure. Next time, we'll just put them on the agenda and let them present. Thank you.
City Manager's report. I'm sorry.
Linda LaNoue, 1102 East Michigan Ave. I just wanted to further iterate a bit of why the conversations related to our comprehensive plan are so important. I recently came across a quote from President Eisenhower that said, "Plans are worthless, but planning is everything." So while the comprehensive plan itself may be hard to, keep at the forefront in the day in to day out, the act of engaging people in planning is everything. Literally, people need to know what is being planned that affects their day-to-day life. So I'm gonna just share a couple of the community goals because we do have the opportunity to weigh in on the city's goals and think about the success metrics so that accountability can be woven into how we operate and make decisions. But first I want to also share what the Michigan Economic Development Corporation Redevelopment Ready Best Practice #1 Guide to Updating a Comprehensive Plan says about the comprehensive plan, because I do recognize the need for the community strategic plan to go more in depth in terms of these community goals and success metrics. But just to be clear, it says that the comprehensive plan reflects the community's desired direction for the future. Beyond meeting state requirements, updating your comprehensive plan is important for maintaining a community vision that the municipal staff and officials can reference during decision making. Taking a regular look at the master plan can keep staff, officials, and the community on track for implementing the goals. So beyond future land use and zoning, it really is a fundamental part of the community's ability to weigh in. And just to read a few elements of the plan, page 60 and 61 provide a community profile and community goals, which state that Albion is transitioning from a manufacturing-based economy to a service and consumer-based economy With the city's support, the growing education services, healthcare, and social assistance, plus arts, entertainment, recreation, accommodation, and food service industries can create new job opportunities. The majority of survey respondents valued the presence of a diverse community as one of Albion's best characteristics. And those top two goals include building a capacity and network of organizations and services to promote growth and meet the needs of residents who cannot afford basic services. This includes updating a comprehensive community needs assessment and asset maps to prioritize assets and determine needs, developing a comprehensive resource guide to facilitate and improve access to community services, and assessing community needs to increase organizational capacity and expand access to education, healthcare, quality food, economic opportunity, and the overall quality of life for residents. So I just invite us all to think about those success metrics so that as we're going through these next 5 years, we really know how we've met those goals.
Boom. That's amazing time.
Thank you.
Well said.
Any other comments? City Manager's report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. A copy of my report was included in the packet, and then I did email an updated city manager's report this afternoon. You do have copies available at your desk. Just a few additions, two that I'd like to note. One of the biggest one, we will have our 2023 budget kickoff. We are getting that process started a little earlier this year. We will have our first meeting with myself and the department heads next Monday, July 11th. With that, one thing to note, myself, Assistant Manager Rich, and Director Mead, we met with the city's Blue Cross Blue Shield representatives last week to discuss the renewal rate for 2023. Unfortunately, the city will experience a 13% premium increase in 2023 for the city's medical, dental, and vision benefits. So we will be discussing that as we move forward with budget preparations for this upcoming year. I just want to let you know that we will begin that process a little earlier this year. The Big Albion Plan, the letter of intent was issued by the MEDC for the first phase of the Big Albion Plan late last week. This will include from 101 South Superior Street to 119 South Superior Street, so the block between Cass Street to the Bone Theater. At this time, it's just a letter of intent, and no formal commitment has been made. However, this is exciting news since I know this has been a project that's been a long time in the making. I think it's been in the works for the past 5 to 6 years. Dr. Sam Shaheen, he will be coming to give a refresher and update on what all the Big Albion Plan entails or includes at one of the upcoming city council meetings. But that is, I think, exciting news for our community. The state of Michigan fiscal year 2022-2023 budget. The state's budget was approved in the early morning hours on Friday, July 1st. So I just want to kind of highlight some key points that were included in this upcoming year's budget. Through the Environmental Cleanup and Redevelopment Program, Legacy Cleanups, they are appropriating $27.6 million from the Cleanup and Redevelopment Fund to clean up legacy contaminated sites. As you all know, we have many brownfields here in our community that have a lot of contamination issues, so this is very exciting to see that they are finally starting to allocate more money to kind of address those issues. Right now, there are grants out there to help identify contaminations, but not too many resources available to actually help remediate that. So we will continue to watch for those programs once they formally release the grant programs to local municipalities. So under the community technical, managerial, and financial support for lead line replacement, $48 million has been appropriated in the general fund for local grants to replace lead service lines and upgrade water treatment facilities. They have a preference for disadvantaged communities. Again, we will continue to watch for those announcements on those grants and take advantage of any opportunities for the city of Albion. We do have the lead and copper rules that we do have to come into compliance with. So that's also very exciting to see. I've been very excited to see the statutory revenue sharing, so $16 million to fund a 5% ongoing and 1% one-time increase. So this will affect the local revenue sharing that is issued to local municipalities. This is very exciting since our community unfortunately has lost another 900 residents, which overall will affect our revenue, local revenue sharing amount that we receive from the state. So I'm happy to see that they have allocated additional funds to help out local municipalities. The recreational marijuana grants, so payments to locals who have recreational marijuana facilities are estimated at $50.6 million for this upcoming fiscal year. Local road agencies, $1.9 billion has been appropriated to the Michigan Transportation Fund distribution to local road agencies. This is $87.6 million more than the current years. Roads are a big hot topic of discussion, so we're excited to see the state legislator apply more dollars to address our local roads. So again, we will continue to look for any available grants as they are announced this upcoming year. Economic development and workforce grants, $251.5 million has been appropriated in the general fund for economic development and workforce grants. And then a blight and elimination program, so $75 million has been appropriated in the general fund for one-time funding for a blight elimination program. I know this is a goal of the City Council to see a lot of our blighted buildings and structures in our community addressed. So we will again monitor for those programs to be announced and take advantage of that opportunity. As I stated, we are starting our budget process here shortly. And then I just wanted to note, I will be out of the office July 19th through the 22nd. I will be attending the MME, the Michigan Municipal Executive Summer Workshop in Holland, Michigan. Any questions on anything in my report?
Thank you, City Manager, for that update. Mayor, council member comments. City Mayor Pro Tem Jackson.
Yes, just wanted to piggyback on the individual that did come up and speak about our veterans, the Calhoun County Veterans Affair, that we need to continue to talk to our constituents about coming out and going to that millage on August the 2nd. That is very important that they get out and vote. Because we do have many veterans in our Calhoun County area that do need help and they do need supplies, and that hospital is very important. So I think that is something we all need to get behind, because one way or another we have someone that needs help in our family or who has been a veteran. So I just think that that's very important. Then also I just want to talk about, just speak roughly about the RVS, the ordinance, the RV.
ORVs.
Say what?
ORVs?
Oh, yeah, ORV. What did I call it?
Off-road vehicle?
Correct. Off-road vehicle. So I've been having a complaint from an individual, and I brought this to Kip as well, and he sent me this big old book to read. And Kip, I'm going to tell you, I didn't read all that book. So, so I just wanted to know what's going on with that, as far as quads, mini bikes, and this individual saying that they have made a track on somebody else's land, riding bikes and everything. So how should we go about that?
Well, I mean, we have an ordinance on the books right now that addresses operation of those vehicles on public roads at the local level. Now, this sounds like it's something on private property. The state has additional regulations under the, I don't know that it's technically called DNR anymore, but it would be under the DNR section of the Michigan compiled laws. So they have additional regulations there that we may be able to enforce under state law, depending upon what's all going on there. If there are, if the complaint is just that it's noisy, it's possibly we can take enforcement action under our noise ordinances. I'd have to check with Chief Kip to see what the reports have been and what's going on there. But it is possible to take enforcement action if I know more information.
Well, I'll forward that information to you as well.
Okay.
Because it's been more than once that she has complained. So the first time she complained, I sent it to Kip. So now she's complained again, and it's been probably a few weeks, and I did tell her, I said, well, I'll just bring it to our city council meeting to see where we need to go forward with that. Because we do have some ORVs in our area that are riding up and down the streets as well, but no one's complained about that. But it sounds like they're making a lot of noise in that area. So
I'll talk to the chief and we'll follow up with you.
Okay, thank you.
And I just encourage that resident, if they are witnessing this activity take place, to call 911 to report it so that we can then get an officer out to the area to try to locate and issue a citation that way. If they wait until after and report it through Chief Kipp's office, then we're not able to actually address it at the time of the actual occurrence.
Okay.
So just encourage them to call to report it that way as well.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councilwoman Jackson,
Yes.
do they know how old the people utilizing those vehicles appear to be?
And she said that they're young.
Their children? Okay. So they probably just need somewhere where they can ride, possibly?
Yeah, I would say that, but it sounds like even that they went off into the back of the woods, it seems like there's still another problem that is
Right.
going on. Something else is transpiring.
Okay.
I think it's something that we just need to probably look at.
Yeah, maybe we can find a resource that has somewhere where they can actually ride safely.
Yeah.
And it could probably be addressed that way, as
Okay.
well as the legal ramification, of course, has to take place, but maybe we don't necessarily have to increase the frequency in which they have to interact with police, and may have a actual answer for what they want to do. You know what I mean?
Yes, and we have to be careful. I know that we are supposed to get a hold of KIP and they call 911 and so forth, but I'm gonna tell you the truth, okay? Across this, you have many people scared of this department. Why? I don't know. So they come to us and they talk, okay? So if there's something going on or taking place, we need to knock that down. People shouldn't be afraid to come and complain about their neighbor doing something. They think that something's going to hurt or harm them. I look at them and say, this is unbelievable to me. All right, and there's other instances of other things that are going on in the city, even in people's yards, taking up things that do not belong to them, but they are afraid to come down here and talk to you guys. There's something wrong with that. So I think we need to address that because there's more going on than meets the eye.
Any other council member comments?
As a newbie, I think it is worthwhile or very beneficial to respond to people like Johnny Donklin. Maybe in our next meeting, maybe we can identify 2 or 3 of the concerns that he has in terms of either a timeline or some kind of follow-up, because we don't want our citizens to think is going on deaf ears. So, you know, even though nothing can be done immediately, I think at least if they know that the council is working on the project and there is a timeline, there is a schedule or something like that, they will feel that they're being heard. So maybe identify, and I'm not sure who will identify. Probably the 2 of you will identify what has been done for his complaints, so at least he will know we're working with him.
Any other council member comments?
I got one.
Go ahead, Councilman Williams.
Yes, in the last meeting, I asked for some information about starting a community development organization as a function of the city, and we didn't address it in this meeting. Do you have a time frame? Maybe next meeting, is that?
Yes, we talked at it when we met that following, I think Wednesday after the last council meeting. You asked that I look into different communities, and I said that we could push it out to either the 2nd July meeting or 1st in August to make sure that we can prepare proper information to report back on that topic.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Other comments? Well, I know that we all hopefully enjoyed this past 4th of July weekend, and Mother Nature definitely cooperated with us. It was great to see community members out enjoying the car show, the concerts, the fireworks. It was just nice congeniality to be able to meet with maybe neighbors you haven't seen in a while. But definitely I want to again applaud the members of our City Works Department or streets, those that kind of kept things up and going for us to be able to enjoy the events that happened this past weekend. So I appreciate all your guys and gals' hard work in making sure that everyone was safe and had enjoyable spaces to get together. So with that said, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, wait,
Oh, I'm sorry.
excuse Marcola.
Oh, I'm sorry. And we did get a message that Councilwoman Lawler was going to be absent for our meeting, so do I have a motion to approve her absence?
So moved.
Support.
City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
French.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Who seconded?
Second, I'll second it. All right, I won't second it like that, but I'll second it.
City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Reed. Jackson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
French.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Meeting adjourned, 8:48 PM.
Thank you, council members, for your